Good morning, good afternoon, and in case I forget, good evening to all truth seekers, spiritual people, and lovely souls. Next Saturday, the 17th of February, at Regine's, we'll be discussing the intriguing and controversial subject of Israel and the Rothschilds. If you have nothing to do next Saturday and you're bored, please come along to the Truth Seekers. There'll be lots of food and hors d'oeuvres, good fellowship, and lots of interesting knowledge and news to take home. So, come along and have some fun with the wonderful folks at Truth Seekers. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Yes, we at Truth Seekers are all about searching and finding the truth. We are truth seekers. We want to know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So, this Saturday, it's all about Israel. I just want to point out that we are not criticizing Jewish people. That's not what it's about, and that's not what we are about at Truth Seekers. Gentiles and Jews have been deceived by our common enemy. Who is the common enemy? It is the Babylonian Brotherhood, the cabal, the New World Order that rules us all. Some of the topics that we'll be discussing are the true origin of the Jewish people. Where do Jewish people come from? 9 out of 10 Jews are not Jews. The origin of the Ashkenazi Jews are from Khazaria, which is modern day Ukraine, Georgia area. Khazarian Jews are Turkic Huns that converted to Judaism in the 8th and the 9th century. Khazarian Jews have no Jewish blood in them and are not native to Palestine. Khazarian Jews are not descendants of the mythical biblical Hebrew people. Most Jewish people today are not the descendants of the biblical Hebrews. Historical and archaeological evidence is coming to the fore that proves that there was no exodus of Hebrew people from Egypt in the 13th century BCE. This is the time of RAMSES II. This biblical narrative of Moses opening the Red Sea is based on myth and is not an historical event. Also, the exile of Hebrew people from Palestine in 70 AD during the Roman revolt also did not happen. So Israel has no legitimate claim to the land based on historical rights because they never left the land to begin with. The Rothschilds and Zionism. We'll also look at the Rothschilds and the fact that Israel actually belongs to the Rothschilds. It is their creation, and they, the Rothschilds, own the land of Israel. The Rothschilds actually purchased the land in a groundbreaking deal with the Ottoman Empire. The initial owners of the land of Palestine was the Ottoman Empire, especially when it comes to the Jezreel Valley, and this deal was made in 1906. It is also very important to understand what Zionism is. The Rothschilds constructed the Zionist movement in an attempt to change Judaism, a religious belief, into an ethnic nationalism. Thanks to the Rothschilds, the mythical religious people of the Bible now step out of the world of fantasy into the real history of modern times. The Rothschilds changed the Bible fairy tale into a real historical event and caused much damage to the Jewish people in the process. The rise of Judophobia and the new one world religion is something else we'll talk about as well. According to biblical prophecy, nations that once supported Israel will gradually turn their backs on Israel for various reasons. The rise of Judophobia and the new one world religion. According to biblical prophecy, nations that once supported Israel will gradually turn their backs on Israel for various reasons. Christians will also become disillusioned in the Jewish people. Judaism is the foundation upon which the Christian house is built. If the foundation begins to crumble, the Christian house will fall like a pack of cards. Christians will lose faith in the Jewish mythos. Christians will lose faith in the fact that the Jews are the chosen people of God. This will have a chain reaction. This will cause a crisis of faith in people's hearts. The Illuminati will use this crisis to offer the religions of the world a new one world religion. And if there is a new one world religion, then by necessity there also needs to be a new Messiah figure. And it's interesting that at the moment all three, the monotheistic faiths, are eagerly anticipating the arrival of their Messiah. The Christians are waiting for Jesus, the Messiah of the Christian church. The Muslims are waiting for their Messiah, and the Jews are waiting for the Jewish Messiah. All three monotheistic faiths are eagerly anticipating the arrival of a Messiah figure that will save them from the plights they find themselves in. And the New World Order will offer the world this new Savior figure, and he will solve all their problems. So this being, perhaps a supernatural being, perhaps an otherworldly being, will come and he will display incredible powers and have a tremendous influence on all peoples of the earth. And he will bring peace in the Middle East. And he will sign, according to the Bible, he will sign a treaty with the various parties to bring peace to the Middle East for a period of 7 years. So this must be quite a guy, a Superman type of guy that's already in the world but hasn't been revealed yet. Also, World War III is inevitable. War in the Middle East is inevitable. Rising tensions between the Muslims and Israel's Western allies will climax in a full-out war. What we are currently witnessing in the Middle East is the beginning of this inevitable World War III. Israel is a trembling cup in the hands of the nations. That will inevitably be the catalyst for the final great war between the East and the West. Another topic we're going to talk about is the Jewish culture and the crisis of identity. And people are waking up to the lies and deceptions that have been deluding people for so long. Knowledge of the true history of Zionism is coming to the fore, and it is causing shockwaves throughout the world. The romantic ideal and idea of the Jewish people being the ancestors of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is being shattered by new information coming to the light. This realization is causing a crisis of identity in Jewish people, and by extension, Christians as well. It's causing a crisis of identity in Jewish culture. Jewish culture is being threatened. Judaism is a religion and not a race. How do you separate the Jewish people from their religion? Where does the one start and the other begin? You see, Jewish people don't really have a land. The land they possess, or for a very long time, they had no land. They were always under some or other country's occupation. So Jewish people have never really had a land. And when they finally got a piece of land in 1948, it was through the process of the illegitimate Zionism. So the land of Israel doesn't really belong to the Jews. It is Palestinian. It belongs to the Palestinians. So Jewish people don't have a land, a city. The famous and ancient city of Jerusalem doesn't belong to the Jews. The Jews did not build the city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem was built by the Canaanites thousands of years ago. King David in the Bible conquered the city of Jerusalem. So Jerusalem was not built by the Jews. It was built by the Canaanites. Jerusalem is one of the oldest cities in the world, but it is not Jewish. Also, Jewish people don't really have a language. The Hebrew language does not belong to the Jews. The Hebrew language is a Phoenician language. If you put the Hebrew alphabet next to the Phoenician alphabet, it is almost identical, because the Hebrew language is actually the Phoenician language. Phoenician being the Greek word for the Canaanites. So the language is a Phoenician Canaanite language. Also, there is no secular, outside of religion of course, there is no secular Jewish culture outside of the Jewish religion. There is no Jewish cinemas. There is no Jewish theaters. There is no Jewish art. All the Jews that live in foreign countries take on the identity, the culture and the art of that country. But Jewish people themselves don't have a cultural identity. There is no such thing as a secular Jewish restaurant. There is no Jewish food that is common to all Jews. Jews become accustomed to the food of the countries they live in. The only thing that holds the Jewish people together is their religion. And if it's only religion that holds a culture together, then that culture is a very weak culture. If you take the religion away from the Jewish people, there will be no Jewish people. Another thing that gives Jewish people an identity is anti-Semitism. This idea that your identity is dependent on how others view you. And so the hatred of other people towards the Jews, that in itself is an identity for Jewish people. So take the hatred of the Jewish people away, and there will be no Jewish people to hate. So, all these subjects we are going to talk about on Saturday, next Saturday, the 17th of February. All welcome Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Star trekking across the universe.
On the Starship Enterprise under Captain Kirk.
Star trekking across the universe.
Slowly going forward 'cause we can't find reverse. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, Jim.
It's life, Jim, but not as we know it, not as we know it, not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it.